seconds left. Lakers still have a foul to give. Parsons for three. It's good! And we're going to overtime!
With Brendan Cahill on Phoenix Radio Online.
Good afternoon, Springfield. My name is Brendan, bringing you Overtime with Brendan Cahill on Phoenix Radio Online, the voice of Springfield, Ipswich, and the western suburbs of Brisbane. Hey, we've got an action-packed hour coming up for your drive home this afternoon. Here's a little look at what we've got coming up. The massive thunderstorms that hit the southeast last night, affecting people in Toowoomba, the Darling Downs, Ipswich, and the Ipswich surrounding areas. They had hail down in Pittsworth down in the Downs, and some really awesome pictures on the Higgins Storm Facebook page, if you're following that one. The Chinese rocket, which was launched a couple of weeks ago, finally crash-landed, thankfully not in Australia, where it was first predicted, but in the Indian Ocean near the Maldives. Some shocking footage from an under-13s rugby league game on the weekend between Wynnum Manly and Logan, where a group of parents got in a massive brawl, with one man having to undergo facial surgery today. And to wrap up the show, we like to end on a bit of a laugh. An Ohio man wasn't too impressed with his criminal mugshot, so he sat in his car and did his hair and mustache, donned some cool specs, and sent a selfie to the Lima Police Department. All this coming up in the next hour, but first to the news from the Queensland Times homepage. Budget news, vital projects overlooked for Ipswich. Funding for upgrades to the Cunningham Highway between Yamanto and Ebenezer Creek appear to have been overlooked once again under the federal government's 2021-22 budget. The project, which has remained in limbo for years, will likely be no closer to becoming a reality, as Treasurer Josh Freudenberg hands down the budget on Tuesday. It comes following a preview of the state's big winners published by the Courier Mail on Monday, detailing a $1.6 billion spend on Queensland roads and infrastructure. Ipswich, however, remained largely absent from that list. Federal member for Blair Shane Newman spoke with the Queensland Times in response, saying he was bitterly disappointed after previewing the latest budget. He said it was disheartening to have many of the city's top priority projects go disregarded, particularly the works to the Cunningham Highway. They're delivering about $1.6 billion on infrastructure, and there's almost nothing coming our way, if you can believe what they've dropped to the media, he said. He continued that Ipswich urgently needed improved roads and highways to cater to its expected population boom, which is tipped to exceed more than 558,000 in the next 20 years. Handgun used in gaming room stick-up. Ipswich detectives are on the hunt for at least 2 offenders following an armed robbery at a popular hotel gaming room. 2 people arrived at Brassall's Mahi Tavern in a blue sedan about 11:20 a.m. on Monday, with one of the offenders entering the gaming room while another approached a staff member. Demands were made for cash, with one of the offenders reportedly armed with a weapon that was described as a handgun. An undisclosed sum of money was handed over, and 2 suspects fled the vehicle, which was last seen heading towards the Warrego Highway. Detectives from the Ipswich Criminal Investigation Branch are in charge of the case and are reviewing CCTV footage of the armed robbery. There were no reports of physical injury to staff caught up in the incident. And in a very sad story that's developing out of Port Lincoln in South Australia, a boy has been killed after being picked up in a skip bin by a large garbage truck this morning. Police say 3 boys aged 11, 12 and 13 were allegedly asleep in an industrial bin early on Tuesday morning when the bin was being emptied. Emergency services were called just after 5:20 a.m. on Tuesday to the Repco car park next to a McDonald's drive-thru on Liverpool Street. One boy managed to escape, but the teenager sustained serious injuries and died at the scene. The third boy was not injured in the accident. A statement from SA police say the truck driver was not aware the boys were in the bin and is extremely shaken by the incident. SafeWork SA have been notified and police will prepare a report for the coroner. The Repco car park has been cordoned off as detectives process the scene. And as this is a developing story, you can imagine that we will probably hear more of this throughout the day. And in local sport, the Jets went down 32-26 in a nail-biter at North Ipswich Reserve in the Intra-Super Cup on Saturday to the Tweed Seagulls. After leading in the early stages of the second half 24-10, a flurry of late tries from the Seagulls pushed them over the line to win by 6. Despite a perfect 7 from 7 conversions and penalty goals from Josh Clearland, a hat-trick from Tweed's Taylor Walters and a double from Luke Burton ultimately proved too strong for the Ipswich defence. The loss means the Jets remain at the southern end of the ladder in 12th with 1 win, while Tweed hold their position in second with 5 wins in 6 games. The Jets play the Burleigh Bears this Sunday down on the Gold Coast, a game that either side could win to advance up the ladder. And shocking footage from an under-13s game between Logan and Wynnum Manly has surfaced on Saturday, but as I mentioned at the start of the program, we will talk about that a little later on. And to some weather now, and boy, didn't we have some massive storms last night. Once again, we'll touch on that one later too. Right now in Springfield, though, another absolutely beautiful day, well, during the day at least. Clear skies outside and currently 26 degrees. And very similar feel over in Ipswich, 26 there too, but there are more storms predicted for tonight, a 50% chance of rain around sunset and maybe even sooner. Rightio, it's 7 minutes past 3 o'clock here in Springfield, and we've got Olivia Rodrigo up next with Driver's License. You're listening to Overtime with Brendan Cahill on Phoenix Radio Online, driving home for the next hour. That was Fifth Harmony with Work From Home, 20 past 3 at the moment, and welcome back to Overtime with Brendan Cahill on Phoenix Radio Online. Right now we are talking about those wild storms that hit last night across the Darling Downs and Ipswich region. Down past Toowoomba where I live, we got absolutely thrashed. The storms went well into the night, and while I woke up to a very soggy backyard just down the road in Pittsworth, locals woke up to hail. Yes, hail. Only very small, almost like sleet actually, or snow or something, but yeah, the first massive storm of winter, you could say, and plenty of mess done to the southeast. Some of the images on the Higgins Storm Chasing Facebook page are absolutely breathtaking. Screenshots of the weather map at various times throughout the night and this morning too, and also comments from community members with pictures they've taken of the clouds, and they were looking very foreboding. I saw one, and it just looked like a cyclone or something just building up in the sky, and then yeah, it was very scary looking. Now, if you thought last night was big, keep the windows shut because we're expecting more tonight and Wednesday, with up to a 95% chance on Wednesday. The bomb indicating that they could rank as severe storms. We'll jump back into music in a sec, but still to come, we've got the Chinese rocket, which was out of control and crashed near the Maldives, the shocking footage of a brawl that broke out in the crowd in an under-13s rugby league game, and an Ohio man who wasn't happy with his mugshot, so he took matters into his own hands. But coming up, we've got ATB with Your Love. You're listening to Overtime on Phoenix Radio Online. Right on, Nightcrawlers, Mufasa and Hype Man with Friday. It is currently 3:32. Let's do a recap of the news from the day from the Queensland Times. Budget news, vital projects overlooked for Ipswich. Funding for upgrades to the Cunningham Highway between Yamanto and Ebenezer Creek have appeared to be overlooked once again under the federal government's 2021-22 budget. The project, which has remained in limbo for years, will likely be no closer to becoming a reality as Treasurer Josh Freudenberg hands down the budget on Tuesday. It comes following a preview of the state's big winners published by the Courier Mail on Monday, detailing a $1.6 billion spend on the Queensland roads and infrastructure. Ipswich, however, remained largely absent from that list. Federal member for Blair Shane Newman spoke with the Queensland Times in response, saying he was bitterly disappointed after previewing the latest budget. He said he was disheartened to have so many of the city's top priorities disregarded, particularly the works of the Cunningham Highway. They're delivering about $1.6 billion on infrastructure, and there's almost nothing coming out of it our way, if you can believe what they've dropped to the media, he said. He continued that that Ipswich urgently needed improved roads and highways to cater to its expected population boom, which is tipped to exceed more than 558,000 in the next 20 years. Handgun used in gaming room stick-up. Ipswich detectives are on the hunt for at least 2 offenders following an armed robbery of a popular hotel gaming room. 2 people arrived at Brassel's Mahi Tavern in a blue sedan about 11:20 a.m. on Monday, with one of the offenders entering the gaming room while another approached a staff member. Demands were made for cash, with one of the offenders reportedly armed with a weapon that was described as a handgun. An undisclosed sum of money was handed over, and the 2 suspects fled to the vehicle, which was last seen heading towards a Warrego highway. Detectives from the Ipswich Criminal Investigation Branch are in charge of the case and are reviewing the CCTV footage of the armed robbery. There were no reports of any physical injury to those staff caught up in the incident. And that very sad story that is developing out of Port Lincoln in South Australia, where a boy has been killed after being picked up in a skip bin by a garbage truck this morning. Police say 3 boys aged 11, 12 and 13 were allegedly asleep in an industrial bin on Tuesday morning when the bin was being emptied. Emergency services were called just after 5:20 a.m. on Tuesday to the Repco car park next to a McDonald's drive-thru on Liverpool Street. One boy managed to escape, but the teenager sustained serious injuries and died at the scene. The third boy was not injured in the incident. A statement from SA Police say the truck driver was not aware the boys were in the bin and is extremely shaken by the incident. Safe Work SA have also been notified, and police will prepare a report for the coroner. The Repco car park has been cordoned off as detectives process the scene. And you can expect that story to continue to develop and see it on the news later, but just very tragic news out of South Australia this morning. Still to come on Overtime, the shocking footage from an under-13 rugby league game where parents of kids broke out into a massive brawl in the grandstands, and then to wrap up the show, the Ohio man who was unhappy with his criminal mugshot. So he took it into his own hands. All that coming up soon. This is Phoenix Radio Online. Welcome back. Brendan Cahill with you for your drive home on Phoenix Radio Online. There are calls for life bans after a cowardly brawl that broke out in a kids' footy match on Sunday. The Queensland Rugby League chairman Bruce Hatcher called it an absolute disgrace as he warned perpetrators in a statement declaring that there is a possibility for life bans to be handed out over the incident. So what exactly happened? Well, it's an under-13s Div 1 game between Wynnum Manly and Logan Brothers, and while it's not exactly certain what instigated the fight, it is confirmed to have started between two men beyond the field in the stands. The fight grew to as big as 20 people and then eventually spilled over onto the field. In the video, which really isn't, always pleasant to watch, several people are seen throwing punches while a man is kicked in the head while on the ground. Spectators were heard yelling and screaming, and in the video, you can see many of them running in to join the fight. It's honestly disgraceful behaviour. And tragically, this has forced a man, Josh Jones, to undergo facial surgery, which happened today after he was beaten on the ground by another man. Now, this is obviously abhorrent behaviour from a group of grown adults, by anyone really. And to happen at an under-13s game of rugby league is just like 1,000% unacceptable. Like, for God's sake, these kids are just wanting to get out, play some footy, have some fun, getting outdoors and enjoying themselves. And then clowns like this group somehow find a way to break a fight in the middle of it all. I just hope for Josh's sake and for the kids' sake that these people have the book thrown at them. This behaviour absolutely cannot exist in sporting events, especially at a young kids' game. There's also it's also word that there'll be criminal charges pressed, although at this time nothing conclusive has been published in this regard. But right now it is 3:43 on Overtime with Brendan Cahill, and we're almost wrapped up here, but before then, the Ohio man who took matters into his own hands when he saw his ugly mugshot. This is Phoenix Radio Online. Getting arrested is bad. The last thing you want to top it all off is an ugly mugshot that will end up circulating the internet and on the front page of every local newspaper. Unfortunately for an Ohio man, Donald Chip Pugh, this is the exact situation he found himself in. Wanted by officers in Lima, Ohio, Pugh found himself on the run with fugitive status for failing to appear in court for a DUI charge in 2016. Rocking a mean double chin, scuffed hairline and red eyes, his mugshot is less than ideal if you want to look good on Facebook. But Pugh couldn't stand for this and took matters into his own hands, hopping into his car in a shirt and jacket, fresh from a haircut and sporting some mean specs. He snapped a selfie and sent it to the Lima police with the message, "Here's a better photo, that one is terrible." Unfortunately for Pugh, his viral internet fame was almost over as quickly as it began, as he was arrested just a few days later in, you guessed it, Florida. Now, Pugh, being the intelligent criminal that he is, knew he would have another mugshot taken, and he took full advantage of this, donning a massive smile plastered on his face for his second mugshot. Oh, America, please never change. And as is the norm around here, I'll link these articles on all the pipes if you'd like to take a look for yourself. But that is going to be all from me for today. I hope you've had a great day at work or at home or whatever you've been doing. I've been Brendan. You've been listening to Overtime on Phoenix Radio Online. And as always, if you'd like to get in touch, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at OT with BC and on Facebook at Overtime with Brendan Cahill, using the hashtags OT with BC, and then you'll hear from me on those socials. You'll have Ben up next and then Kyle at 6. And as always, drive safe. Make sure those windows are shut with these storms on the way, and have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Catch you guys later.